Every single morning, before the world rushes in, before the noise, the notifications, the responsibilities, you have a moment, your moment. A window of power that determines how you step into your day, your work, your relationships, your life. And in that moment, you have a choice to let the day control you or to rise and condition your mind to show up as the strongest, most grounded, most unstoppable version of yourself. Morning mental conditioning shapes the trajectory of your entire day because the mind functions much like a compass, constantly directing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors toward a particular path. The first thoughts you feed it after waking set the emotional tone that follows you for hours, sometimes even unconsciously. When you wake up and intentionally nourish your mind with clarity, purpose, and empowering ideas, you're not just preparing for the day, you are programming your internal system to operate from strength rather than stress. Most people roll out of bed and immediately step into reaction mode, checking messages, scrolling through distractions, and absorbing everyone else's priorities before they've even acknowledged their own. This puts the mind in a defensive posture, causing it to chase after problems instead of leading with direction. Morning mental conditioning flips that pattern entirely, giving you space to breathe, think, align, and choose how you want to show up. Your mornings create momentum, and momentum creates identity. When you take even a few minutes every morning to feed your mind with something uplifting, expanding, or energizing, you spark a chain reaction within your nervous system. You increase your emotional resilience, you sharpen your focus, and you start to notice opportunities instead of obstacles. This shift isn't accidental, it's the direct result of priming your mind to operate from a higher emotional state. What you let into your mind first thing has a magnified influence because your brain is incredibly receptive in those early moments. It hasn't been cluttered by the world yet, so whatever you choose to feed it goes deep, shaping your beliefs and emotional patterns throughout the day. If you begin your morning with gratitude, your attention leans toward things that are working. If you begin with goals or affirmations, your brain filters for alignment. If you begin with inspirational content, your spirit leans forward instead of shrinking back. Morning mental conditioning also protects your energy. It acts as a shield, reminding you that you control your mindset no matter what challenges arise. Instead of letting external situations determine your emotional state, you start the day anchored in your own intention. This gives you leverage over stress and unpredictability because your emotional foundation is already set. Feeding your mind in the morning is also a signal to yourself that your growth matters. It establishes self-respect. It reinforces that your mental health, your dreams, and your inner strength deserve time and attention. Over time, this discipline forms a powerful identity, one built on clarity, confidence, and intentional living. And once your identity shifts, the direction of your entire day and eventually your life naturally follows. Your emotional state is a choice, and the way you begin your morning plays a massive role in determining how you experience the rest of your day. Most people don't realize that their emotions aren't random reactions. They're patterns, habits, and conditioned responses that can be shaped with intention. When you wake up, your mind is in a highly impressionable state, and your emotions are more easily influenced because you haven't yet stepped into the noise of the world. This makes the morning the most powerful time to direct your emotional state rather than let it form on autopilot. If you wake up and immediately engage with stress, negativity, or urgency, your brain locks onto those emotions and carries them forward, creating a day where everything feels heavier and more draining. But if you deliberately choose to feed your mind with empowering thoughts, energizing movement, or calming practices, you shift your internal chemistry and set yourself up to operate from strength. Choosing your emotional state in the morning doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means taking ownership of how you respond, how you focus, and how you prepare your mind to face the challenges ahead. Emotions are signals, but they don't have to be dictators. When you realize that you can interrupt an unhelpful emotional pattern and replace it with a more empowering one, you unlock a level of personal power that most people never tap into. Something as simple as changing your breathing, visualizing a successful outcome, listening to uplifting content, or repeating a powerful affirmation can move you from anxiety to clarity or from frustration to resourcefulness. These deliberate choices create emotional stability, and emotional stability creates confidence. Your mornings become the training ground for mastering your emotional state because they allow you to practice intention before the world demands reaction. When you choose your emotional state early, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with empowerment, gratitude, focus, and determination. Over time, these pathways become your default settings, making it easier to stay centered even when you're challenged. This is why some people seem naturally positive or resilient. They've conditioned their emotional responses consistently, often without even realizing it. You can build the same internal strength by deciding every morning what state you want to step into, rather than waiting for life to dictate it for you. The emotional state you choose becomes the lens through which you see everything. If you choose fear, everything looks threatening. If you choose doubt, everything looks difficult. But if you choose courage, everything becomes a possibility. Mornings give you that choice every single day, and by embracing it, you reclaim the power to lead your emotions. Instead of being led by them, what you tell yourself the moment you wake up becomes a story you live, because your mind is constantly listening, absorbing, and shaping your reality based on the messages you feed it. The internal dialogue you carry within the first moments of your day sets the tone for every decision, every action, and every reaction that follows. Most people underestimate the power of their self-talk. They allow old fears, doubts, or limiting beliefs to run unchecked, and as a result, their mornings, and eventually their entire day, become a reflection of those narratives. But when you intentionally speak to yourself with clarity, encouragement, and vision, you create a mental environment where possibility thrives and inertia fades. Your mind cannot distinguish between what you vividly imagine or strongly believe and what is real, which is why the words, thoughts, and affirmations you repeat early in the day have a profound effect on your emotions, your energy, and ultimately the life you construct. Every morning is an opportunity to consciously author your story rather than react to someone else's script. When you begin with empowering statements, reminders of your strength, or visualizations of success, you align your subconscious with your conscious intentions. This alignment shapes your behavior automatically, guiding your actions toward the outcomes you desire. It's not just about positive thinking. It's about directing your brain to notice opportunities, respond resourcefully to challenges, and create momentum toward growth. Thoughts that uplift, challenge, or expand you prime your nervous system to operate from possibility instead of limitation. You become alert, focused, and proactive, approaching each interaction and task with clarity and purpose. Over time, these repeated narratives become ingrained, forming habits of thought that define your perception of yourself and your potential. Conversely, if your morning self-talk is negative, critical, or fearful, you set yourself up for a day of struggle and resistance. Your mind filters experiences through those limiting stories, noticing only what confirms doubt, anxiety, or frustration. Energy drains quickly, confidence wavers, and obstacles feel larger than they are. The truth is, the quality of your day mirrors the quality of the conversation you hold within yourself first thing in the morning. By choosing words, images, and intentions that elevate you, you break free from old patterns and start to live intentionally, cultivating a mindset that is resilient, expansive, and forward-moving. This is the power of feeding your mind deliberately, when the first story you tell yourself is one of strength, courage, and possibility. It influences every choice, every interaction, and every moment that follows, shaping the life you create in ways you might not even consciously notice. Small morning habits create massive long-term transformation because the consistent actions you take in the early hours of your day compound over time, shaping not only your behaviors but your identity. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the repeated intentional steps you take when no one is watching, when distractions are minimal, and when your mind is most receptive. The smallest choices, spending 5 minutes in gratitude, reading an inspiring passage, setting clear intentions, or simply taking a few deep breaths, signal to your brain that your growth and well-being matter. Each repetition strengthens neural pathways associated with focus, discipline, and positivity, gradually rewiring your mind to operate from a place of strength and possibility. What begins as a simple morning routine eventually becomes a defining part of who you are, influencing how you respond to challenges, interact with others, and pursue your goals. Consistency is the hidden multiplier in human achievement. When you repeat empowering habits every morning, you are not just performing tasks, you are sculpting your mental, emotional, and even physical state. Just as an athlete trains their body daily to reach peak performance, training your mind and emotions in the morning builds the resilience and clarity you need to navigate life's complexities. Over time, these small habits accumulate into a momentum that is nearly unstoppable, They create a rhythm in which success, focus, and confidence become the default, not the exception. People often underestimate the power of these tiny actions because their immediate effects seem minimal, but their long-term impact is profound. Every choice to invest in yourself early and teach each day sends a signal to your subconscious. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are committed to growth. Morning habits also cultivate discipline, which is the bridge between goals and results. When you consistently feed your mind with positive, empowering inputs, you train yourself to follow through on commitments, overcome procrastination, and take deliberate action toward your ambitions. Even moments of resistance become opportunities to strengthen character and reinforce the patterns that lead to transformation. These habits influence not only what you do, but how you perceive yourself. Gradually, your identity shifts from someone who reacts to life to someone who designs it intentionally. You begin to see yourself as proactive, capable, and resilient. The ripple effect of small morning habits extends far beyond the individual. They improve relationships, enhance productivity, and influence the environment around you because the energy you bring into the day is contagious. People notice the clarity, focus, and positivity you carry, and it often inspires others to elevate their own routines. The cumulative power of these small actions proves that transformation is not dependent on dramatic changes or rare bursts of effort. It is forged in the everyday choices you make consistently, quietly, and intentionally in the morning, shaping not only your outcomes, but the very way you experience life itself. You become what you repeatedly absorb, and this truth is especially powerful in the morning when your mind is most receptive and malleable. Everything you feed your consciousness, whether it is thoughts, words, images, or sounds, imprints on your subconscious and begins to shape your beliefs, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Most people underestimate the influence of their daily mental diet, allowing random inputs from social media, news, or casual conversa to dictate their energy, focus, and emotional state. But when you intentionally choose what you absorb first thing in the morning, you take control of the most important programming your mind receives all day. Every thought you entertain, every affirmation you speak, and every piece of knowledge you consume sends a signal to your brain about who you are, what is possible for you, and what you are capable of achieving. Absorption is not passive, it is active creation. Your mind cannot help but integrate the content it encounters, which is why feeding it deliberately with inspiration, growth-focused ideas, and empowering narratives transforms not only your thinking, but also your behavior. When you surround yourself with possibility, challenge, and vision each morning, your brain begins to filter your experiences through this lens. You start noticing opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems, and pathways instead of limitations. Your identity begins to align with the energy, knowledge, and perspective you are consistently consuming. Over time, this repeated absorption rewires your thinking patterns, replacing doubt, fear, and scarcity with confidence, courage, and abundance. The principle of repeated absorption extends beyond information. It shapes your emotional and physiological states as well. Listening to motivational content, reading uplifting material, engaging in reflective exercises, or visualizing success creates an internal environment that primes you for action, resilience, and clarity. Your nervous system responds to these inputs, elevating your energy and focus and setting a tone that carries through your day. In contrast, neglecting this principle or filling your mind with distractions, complaints, or negative influences can anchor you in stagnation and limit your potential. Over time, the habits of absorption compound, creating a powerful feedback loop where the quality of what you intake determines the quality of your output. Your thoughts, your decisions, your relationships, and your results all reflect the mental, emotional, and informational diet you maintain. The simple act of choosing what to feed your mind each morning, what voices to listen to, what ideas to embrace, what inspiration to internalize, shapes not only your day, but the trajectory of your life, reinforcing the fact that who you become is a direct reflection of what you consistently absorb and allow to influence your consciousness.